Hi guys, and welcome to Game Day Preview. Your favourite duo are back together again.
back at it, man, back at it.
Happy to be back together. We're here at Spurs. They're of course facing Manchester United in the 5:30 kickoff this weekend. A huge game in the race for the top four. We're going to be previewing that along with everything else that's coming up for you this week as well. So let's go. Starting with Everton, I mean, we saw what happened earlier this week right here at Spurs. They got absolutely pumped 5-0. Could have probably been more. Didn't register a shot on goal. What are you making of Everton so far?
They're in a bad way. They're in such a bad way that Lampard's got it all to prove. I mean, when he went there, I did think, I'll tell you what, I'm not sure about the credentials of that. You know, he did okay at Derby. That got him the Chelsea job. Did okay in a season where, look, they had a transfer embargo, so managed to do okay, but the next season full of expectancy.
Spent so much money. Didn't work. And to get a job as big as Everton with them in transition, I was a little bit surprised. And he's showing that away from home, they're polar opposites. They really are.
Because I watched them against City, and they should have got something out of the game. You know, even City fans would admit that. I just feel like they're in such a that back four, like, I mean, a lot of people have been saying it like it's a championship level back four, like it really is really poor. Michael Keane's having a horrible time right now. Coleman's been there for years, probably not up to it. Holgate, Kenny, just coming into the league. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. So they've got a wealth of talent there. I look at Richarlison, I look at Calvert-Lewin, I look at the midfield of Alan Decore, you look at Dele Alli's not even started at the minute, Donny van der Beek. They look okay. Demara Gueye, they're waiting for him to get back fit, but they're in a bad spot, a really, really bad spot, and they need to win ASAP. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, since the start of 2021, Everton have lost the most games in the Premier League. That's 13. They face Wolves, who are, again, kind of on a little bit of a downward slide at the minute. We were praising them so much. They were in that race kind of for the top four, the European spots. But in the last couple of weeks, that's kind of dropped off, hasn't it? It
has. They've got into a really great position, and I love what Bruno Lage has done. I think at the beginning of the year, of the season, they just couldn't score. They were playing really, really well. I remember that vividly. And they're that team that they don't concede loads of goals, but they don't score loads of goals. But if you always feel with Wolves, if it can click with the types of players that they've got, even though they've lost to Damatura, you look at Neto, you look at Prudence, you look at Trincao, Jimenez, these types of players, really good on the ball, really good players. But they just, I don't know, they lack that little bit of bite to really go and get it done. Killer instinct, the 2 games against Arsenal, let themselves down. You know, scrappy win loss at Molineux, then they go to the Emirates, winning 1-0 for quite a while.
And then right at the death.
And then 80th minute onwards concede 2. So that's probably put them out, and then that loss to Palace has probably put them out of the top 4. But they're still having a good season.
They could still get European.
Where is it? Yeah, they could. Where's this game? At Goodison Park?
This is at Goodison Park.
That will work in Everton's favour, because I think Lampard's got them at least playing with some intensity at Goodison Park. at Goodison Park.
I mean, they can't be as bad as they were here the other day.
No, and I feel like he's got to get a reaction. And I actually feel that would be quite a tricky game for Wolves. But if Wolves can get on it early and get that early goal, confidence completely gone. Because like I said, that back four is so bad at Everton.
It really is. Everton are just 1 point off the bottom. Where do you put them in terms of staying up, going down? It's really tight.
Do you know what? People were saying if Everton went down, would that be the biggest club ever to go down?
You have to look at Villa, Newcastle,
West Ham, massive club, Leeds. I've done
Everton
it.
Everton
will be a shock this year.
Yeah.
And out of the ones that are potentially could go down, out of say Burnley, Watford, Norwich,
a Leeds getting sucked into
Leeds, Brentford, they got a massive win, but you never know. Because they're so close to the relegation zone,
can't rule them out.
They're definite contenders. I think when you're in that situation, when you're fighting for your lives, and Everton fans will know it as well, I believe, you have to have that acceptance. You can't think you're too good for the drop.
Yeah.
Because if those players think that, they're in for a massive awakening. And the thing is, you look at Everton and Lampard, they ain't used to being in the relegation scrap.
No.
Donny van de Beek don't know what it's like to be down there. Neither does Dele Alli, even though he's been here. No, he's not near. You know. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got a clue about a relegation scrap. So, and you look at the likes of Burnley, who do.
And what they need, the credentials to get themselves out of it. This is going to be a really big test for Frank Lampard because, like we said, he got given the job at Chelsea probably too prematurely from his time at Derby, and then that didn't really
He's
work
got some
out.
Good jobs, Lampard. Mate.
He has.
Not that big a CV.
For me, I would have been looking, if he was to get a job before Dean Smith went to Norwich, that would have been where I would have placed Lampard. I think that maybe Everton is just too big of a task.
Yeah.
But look, if it works out for him, it does. If it doesn't, who knows how long he might be out of a job for.
Yeah.
All right, let's get your prediction on that.
I think that'll be a draw because Wolves aren't firing right now. I do think there'll be some level of response for Lampard and the home crowd at Goodison. Get them up for it. Draw 1-1.
Okay, I will go with a 1-0 Everton win.
You think they get it done?
Late though, and
Yeah.
purely for the fact that, as I said, they can't play much worse than they did the other day. And I think that everyone in that crowd and also Lampard will be looking for that response.
They need it because they'll get booed out of the whole
they've got the quality
joint.
in their team
Yeah.
up front
Yeah.
that can do that. Okay, West Ham taking on Aston Villa. Villa are winless in their last 6 Premier League away games against West Ham. They've drawn 3 and lost 3.
I like
Failed
this
to
game.
score on 4 occasions though in that run since April 2011. And West Ham have won each of their last 3 games against Aston Villa. So, Villa under Gerrard. They're looking good.
Yeah, they started quite well. Then they went on a bit of a slump. And then back-to-back wins with Brighton and I want to say Southampton.
Yeah, it was 4-0, you know.
4-0.
4-0.
And then 2-0 the week before. Yeah, game before. They've found a little bit. I think Coutinho's looking.
Yeah, decent.
He's looking really good. I remember doing it on here on DR actually with Nicky, and it was just before Coutinho. It was Coutinho's first game, going to be at Man United, and Nicky was giving it. Nah, flex, mate. You ain't got it, mate. Yeah,
He's
nah.
got it.
And I said he's still all right, mate. He's still a good player, and he's proven that he was really good against Southampton. And in general, I think he's lit it up. Villa are that team where they've got good attacking players. They can put it on you. You know, if they get Danny Ings going, Ollie Watkins was really good against Southampton. Jacob Ramsey's doing really well. On their day, they can give you massive problems.
It's just about being inconsistent, isn't it?
Defensively, defensively, they can make a lot of mistakes and sometimes not be at it. West Ham kind of faded a little bit, but again, they just kind of stay there to get that little win.
They seem to pick up points at the point where it's like a bit of a do or die situation. This is going to be a really entertaining game, but I think it's one West Ham have to win.
They do.
If they're still going to stay within that race, because it's really tight within that kind of like 4th spot to 8th
and
spot.
6,
Like
and especially if they want to stay and make sure they at least get Europa League again. Do you know what I mean? These are the sorts of games that they need to be picking up points. You know.
Do you think that West Ham will still have one eye on the Europa League? As the season drags on?
I think yes, because their squad's not that big. You know, they didn't invest in the summer, in the January transfer window, which was their biggest mistake, I feel. I know a lot of West Ham fans, I've seen a lot of West Ham fans echo that sentiment. But I would say that they're also still living the dream, you know, to go through in the Europa League and get to where they've got to, and they've got a real shot. They've got a real shot. And I was, speaking to Nicky as well, he was like, I just want to see us win something. Do you know what I mean? They didn't expect to be pushing for Champions League and stuff.
And also if they focus on that and they win that,
exactly, they get in. So I think they should, European nights back at West Ham in Europe and stuff like that. Massive football club, great big fan base and stuff. 100%, they should have one eye on it. Yeah. So I think that will trip them up because their squad's not that big. I agree. When it gets into the deep rounds, they're going to have to sacrifice. 100%.
I agree. I've always said all the way along, I think that when it gets to it, they will take their eye off the ball in the Premier League and go for the focus on that if they're still in it. Your prediction, please?
It's at West Ham, isn't it?
It's at West Ham.
Villa 2-1.
Oh, okay, you went the other way.
Villa 2-1. I just feel like Gerrard's got a bit of momentum. I liked what I saw against them when they was against Southampton. I don't know, I've got a feeling 2-1.
Okay,
2-1.
I'm going to go for a draw in this. Score draw, I'm going to go 2-2. I think this will be a really entertaining one to watch, and I can't really split them.
Yeah,
either
it
way,
is a
to be
close
fair.
game, definitely.
I really can't split them. Crystal Palace taking on Manchester City. That's the Monday night 8 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah.
City are unbeaten in 13 away games in the Premier League since losing on the opening weekend of the season to Spurs. Obviously, Spurs did double over City. That's what I'm claiming as our trophy for this
100%.
season. Following their 2-0 win at the Etihad in October, Crystal Palace are looking to complete a double over Manchester City for the first time since 1987-88, when they were in the second tier of English football. City, I hate to bring it up, Flex, but they literally tore you apart the other day.
100%, mate. 100%. They embarrassed us. They embarrassed us really badly. One thing I do know about this game is that Crystal Palace would give them a better game than what we did.
I would say the first half against...
We did okay.
First half, United did
okay.
They pushed up more, they pressed more, they looked, a lot more hungry for it. I don't know what happened in that second half, but
they just lost their heads. As soon as that second goal went in, they lost their heads. As soon as the third goal went in, they lost their heads, and that was it. Game over. But Palace, like I say, they went earlier in the season to Etihad and won. Was it 2-0? I think. I remember that game.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
Yeah, and that was really good from Vieira what they did that day. They really earned that. But I feel with City now, knowing that Liverpool are there, they've got their tails up again, they're confident again, they've got to have an easy night in the Champions League. Yeah. As we're recording this, I think that's tonight. Yeah. They're 5-0 up, rest a couple. Do you know what I mean? 5-0 up in the round of 16. They're taking the piss. I hate City.
I know you
I'm
do.
still scarred. I'm still scarred. But no, amazing football team. So I think. But Palace will give them a difficult game. Yeah. And I think when you get after City, which is what I was so disappointed with us, if you get after them, because Everton showed it in the game before, they played us, if you get after them, you can do it. And look what you did, home and away.
Exactly.
You can do it.
The last few weeks, kind of United aside, but from when Spurs have done it, I think Everton kind of adopted the same way to approach that game. And,
Southampton have done it against them.
And we're wrongly, kind of put out of that game, Everton. But I think that if Palace, who do play a similar style of football in that way that can press high, can counter, I think there could be something in that for them.
They can cause them problems. However, I do think City will edge it. Yeah. I think they'll edge it just like they edge Everton. When it gets tough and it looks like, I'll tell you what, they could be in a bit of trouble. They just always nick it. Happened against Arsenal.
However, defensively, obviously there's no Ruben Dias. I think that did show in that game against you. Yeah. I think that they do look a little bit less organised. I think they look a lot less solid than when they have Ruben Dias there. So when you're making your prediction, are you going to incorporate that?
Yes, again, like I said, Zaha can get at them. Mateta's playing really well. Elise's playing really well. Gallagher, Edouard. They will cause City problems. But if City just click into gear, get an early goal, they can run away with it at any time. I feel like they'll get the win. I feel like they will win this game 2-1.
Okay, I'm actually going to match that prediction. I felt the same way. But I think it'll be tighter. Yeah. I think it will be actually tighter than we think. Moving on to Arsenal, who face Leicester. That's Sunday 4:30 kickoff. Yeah. Leicester won this fixture 1-0 last season, ending a 23-game winless run away at Arsenal in the competition. They've never ever won back-to-back away games against Arsenal before, though. However, Arsenal, on the flip side, they've taken 25 points from their last 30 available in the Premier League. No side has earned more than that in the last 10 Premier League games than them. They're actually level with Man City on that. Arsenal have had such a resurgence. It's really quite unfortunate.
Yeah, it is for the team chasing top four like us. But you have to give Arsenal credit. Yeah, you have to give Arsenal credit. I think they deserve the credit because actually, in that hunt for top four, for a large periods of the season, including Arsenal, nobody could show any consistency. And like the form just says right there, what was that, 25 out of their last 30. They've been able to put runs together. What have they won their last 5? I think they have. They've
looked pretty good as well. And they've actually dug deep in games. Against Wolves. It's kind of like a bit of like a never say die attitude they've got, which I think Arsenal have lacked a lot.
It's not always pretty. And one thing you couldn't always put on Arsenal is being defensively resolute, being organised, difficult to break down, not concede too many chances. And they are nicking it by a goal. Which...
But it doesn't matter how you win it, does it?
But right now, it doesn't matter how they win it, and I think their fans should be excited. And they're playing some good football. Yeah. There's one thing, defensively you might concede a few here, but the likes of Saka, the likes of Martinelli's really come into it. Odegaard's doing his thing at the moment. Lacazette's doing his thing. Partey's starting to put some runs.
They look good at the back with Ben White as well. There was a lot of people, that questioned that signing, the amount of money they paid for him and Ramsdale, but actually they've kind of been the two people that have been very consistent at Arsenal this season, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think now it's the point where we'll see I think Arsenal fans will be worried about it as well. There's still time for it to go south.
Well, there is.
There's still time for this to go wrong.
There is.
Big games for them to play.
There are 3 games in hand. Are Chelsea, Liverpool, and they have to come here in the North London derby.
Big games.
They are really big games.
Yeah.
I think they've got to kind of be looking to win 2 out of 3 of those if they're going to cement their place. Obviously, there's things that happen in the meantime up until those played.
Yeah.
But having those 3 games in hand, they're really difficult.
Well, you look at
games.
the chasing pack with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, our 2 teams. Would I put my house on it that Man United will win enough games when Arsenal could potentially drop points in them difficult games? Probably not.
And the same with Spurs.
Spurs. So even Arsenal are in such a good position in terms of even if they lost them games, it could still have a little bit of a cushion because there's still times for us to drop points before they even play them difficult games. Which is highly likely. So yeah, they're favourites right now.
Leicester, on the other hand, beat Leeds, Jesse Marsh's first game in charge. But I have to say, Leicester haven't been convincing for me all season.
No, they haven't. They look like they need a reset. They look like they need to freshen up.
Do you think they look, like you said, a bit stale?
It's a little bit stale, yeah. Sometimes it happens at a football club. And Leicester's a really, really well-run football club. They make the right decisions at the right time. And you look at the recent history, Premier League, they've won the FA Cup, Community Shield. They've done really well under Brendan Rodgers, and their recent history is good. But it looks like it's coming to the end of that cycle where something needs to change. Whether they need a few new faces, they need to sort out some players who might want to leave. I know that Yuri Tielemans probably doesn't want to sign a new deal.
We know that we're getting to the end kind of the Jamie Vardy era as well.
Exactly, they're going to need to reinvest and get like a certified goal scorer, that's difficult to replace him. Daka's done okay, Inacho's done okay, but they probably want more. So they go, that happens. There's a shelf life of every football squad.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I feel like Brendan Rodgers might be coming to it. He's questioned, the players a lot of the time. So I don't fancy them in this game.
Yeah.
At Arsenal, the Emirates is a fortress at the moment. The crowd are behind them. Even if you go 1-0 down, even if you go 1-0 up against Arsenal at the Emirates, they never say die.
Yeah.
They never say die. They keep going. They keep going. So I fancy Arsenal with this heavily. I fancy Arsenal quite comfortably. I think 2-0.
2-0.
I honestly think they make a easy afternoon of it, or evening, whenever the game is.
I see your point. I do see your point.
I hope I'm wrong.
I
hope Leicester beat them, but I just can't see it.
If I'm going to be realistic, I'm going to have to back Arsenal in it. I'll go 2-1, but I'm hoping it's going to be 2-1 Leicester. So
yes,
let's see what happens with that. Chelsea taking on Newcastle. Chelsea up for sale. Yes. Newcastle sold and having a bit of a resurgence. That's a Sunday 2 p.m. kickoff. Chelsea have won 8 of their last 10 Premier League games against Newcastle, including the last 3 in a row. However, stats aside, Newcastle have looked pretty good. It's 8 games unbeaten. Regardless of the stats, we have to look at here and now, really, don't we?
Form-wise, they're up there. I think in the top 3 or 4 in the league or something like that. In the last, sort of 4 or 5 games or so. They've done really well under Eddie Howe. I actually didn't rate that appointment, if I'm honest. When he came there, I thought, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. But credit where credit's due. They got their transfer window spot on.
Yeah, they did.
And financial power came straight into it. They were able to do it.
Losing Trippier, I'd say, has been a bit of a blow. But the confidence they built up before losing Trippier has 100%. Kind of stayed.
And actually, it shows more that they've lost trips and still been able to put in some performances to show that they didn't just capitulate because they lost. Arguably their biggest influence has gone. So I like this game. I think it's not a free hit, but obviously they're not going to be expected to win there. But in the moment that they're in, I think they can go there and cause Chelsea problems. Chelsea were emphatic against Burnley, to be fair to them. But sometimes at the Bridge, they've had a lot of draws. They're like this Chelsea, innit? Sometimes they can dispatch of teams easily.
And I think we were talking at the beginning of the season, Chelsea really being up there for the title. Potentially it was theirs, kind of on paper. We all wrote Liverpool off to an extent, which was mental of us. And we kind of said that Chelsea being on the back of that Champions League win, having the money that they've got in that squad, Romelu Lukaku, almost 100 million. It hasn't.
They're playing better without him.
They did, and something just hasn't quite clicked for me with Chelsea. And I think they're having I'd actually say a disappointing season if you have a look at where we think they should have been. Yeah,
they're kind of just flatlining. They're not bad enough to get sucked into the top 4 race, but obviously clearly not good enough to match the level of City and Liverpool, which is 90 points plus. You can't have too many draws, you can't have too many losses. So they're in a little bit of a league of their own, just dwindling in it.
just chilling
in third, not really doing anything.
Either side.
And obviously Champions League, they've still got that, and I think they're more of a cup team. They do really well in the cups. Obviously they lost the Carabao Cup final, but I think they're suited to that. But I do fancy them. Just 2-1.
Okay, I'm going to
2-1.
go for a draw on this. I'm going to give
Are you?
Newcastle some credit.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 1-1 draw. But again, I think it'll be a late one. I think it'll be a late one for Newcastle to get the equaliser. However, I am usually wrong in my predictions, to be fair. Okay, Leeds taking on Norwich. This is a huge game in this relegation battle. Leeds are looking to complete a league double over Norwich for the first time since 1980 to 81. Norwich have scored fewer away goals than any other side in the Premier League this season, just 7. But they have taken 4 in the last 3 Premier League games, scoring 4 goals, as many as they had done in 17 previous. So we saw them lose to Brentford. That was a big loss for Norwich. And we've kind of just been discussing since the ball was even kicked that Norwich are going back down.
Yes.
And we've written them off in that sense. Do you reckon after that defeat at Brentford, it's kind of it now?
I think so. I mean, Dean Smith showed a little bit when he went there. I think he got a couple of wins, or did he get a draw? And he started getting a few points on the board. But that quickly went. I think Leeds as well were really unlucky against Leicester. They played really well. Rafinha should have scored on the goal line. Some heroics from Kasper Schmeichel, and then kind of like against the run of play, Harvey Barnes nicks it. But they actually played really well. And I think they get the job done against a poor Norwich side. Man, they've tried to huff and puff, like I said, at certain stages of the season where you think could there be a little bit of a turning point. But essentially, they've stayed, pretty much rooted to the bottom for long periods because they just can't put a run together. And when they do win a game, it's in isolation. They'll win one and then go back and lose the next 4 or 5. And might get a draw, then lose the next 3. I think I fancy these, and it's at Ellen Road, right?
It is at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
Jesse Marsh has come in, as we mentioned. They probably should have taken something out of that game with Leicester last week. It was time for Bielsa to go, wasn't it? It was time.
I did not. People were saying that I was a hater and stuff just because of the United Leeds history and stuff like that. I just didn't see the gas. Honestly, I respected what he did in the Championship with Leeds. I respected what he did with Championship players. And I also understood the fact that they had injuries and stuff like that. But to roll Leeds out like that every week,
with no
the naivety to go toe-to-toe, man for man against all the other teams and get battered almost every week.
And it's actually something that we've been saying. Management. It's something we've been saying since the very first game of the season where they played you. They came to Old Trafford, I think it was 4-0, wasn't it? Or 4-1.
5-1, I think.
They absolutely were torn apart and they were so open. And we said back at that day, we did the game on DR Sports, and we said if Leeds continue to play like that with no plan B, this is going to be a very long season for them. And nothing changed.
What was it, 7 at City or 6? Can't even remember. Just getting battered every single week. And no disrespect to you guys, you did it to them as well.
Absolutely.
4-0, easy. We scored 4 against them. Everyone does.
Exactly.
So, I think that on the Bielsa thing, didn't
Jesse
get the gas.
Marsh, think he's the right man for the job? No enough about him?
Time will tell. Yeah, I know he's part of the RB family. He's done well in the MLS. He's actually got the best win percentage, amount of points in the MLS. But went to Salzburg, did okay. At Leipzig for a little bit, but I don't know. It's a big ask in this league
to come to the Premier League.
But he talks well. He seems like a nice character. I do like that. But
maybe you can be friends.
Ask. Yeah, 100%.
Maybe you can.
He says he's like Ted Lasso. So.
I love Ted Lasso.
Yeah, wicked.
Anyone who hasn't seen Ted Lasso, make sure you watch Ted Lasso.
Big up KG's in Ted Lasso.
Anyway, so prediction, please.
Leeds are going to win 2-0 against Norwich.
Okay. I'm going to actually do the same as you. I'm going to go 2-0 Leeds on that one. Sorry, Norwich fans. So, big game of the weekend. Manchester United taking on Spurs. Last time this happened, it was great.
It was for us, yeah. Oh wait, do you mean at Old Trafford?
No, I actually meant for us because even though we lost, it meant the end of Nuno and the start of Conte.
That was such that game.
It was a really interesting
I remember winning
game.
That and being like, don't get too happy. Spurs are terrible.
They were terrible.
And you was, and that's why we beat you 3-0, and that's why you sacked the manager.
Correct, and that's, here we are today. United are looking to win 3 consecutive Premier League games against Spurs for the first time since 2009 in October 2010. However, the last time I believe we went to Old Trafford, believe it, wasn't it 6-1? Was it 6-1?
6-1.
Oh, so we did spank you.
It was 6-1, but there was no fans, not a proper game.
Still a proper game, in my opinion. Spurs have won 2 of their last 3 Premier League away games against Manchester United. They've only lost 1, as many as they had done in their first 26 visits to Old Trafford.
See, remember that, yeah.
We've clearly had progress in that department. It is a huge game. It's a huge game in the race for the top 4. Both of us kind of still hanging on by a bit of a thread. More so us than you.
Yeah.
Who do you think is maybe more confident going into this one?
I don't know, man. After getting battered the way we did against City,
you're going to have a reaction.
Yeah, but in terms of going into it with the confidence, I don't think either side's very, very confident. I think maybe slightly you. I think honestly, and I know that sounds weird. And to be fair, I'm speaking off my own emotion because I'm still hurting.
You're still
you're
still hurt.
100%. Like I'm still very angry with that performance against City. Of course, there's the chance to bounce back, and of course we can win the game. I'm not one of them fans who say no, we can't beat Spurs. Of course we can. We can beat anyone on our day. But this Man United squad is so unpredictable. This Man United squad is lack of quality, lack of consistency, lack of intensity. And I look at Spurs in isolated moments. They can just turn up sometimes, But
it is, like you said, it's isolated moments.
But I'm not naive enough to think that you can't. Look at you came to City. Nobody expected that. I thought that'd be clean, easy 3-0. Wasn't that off the back of? Oh no, you lost to Burnley after that game, innit? But that just shows you.
You see, Spurs fans would always have thought there is a possibility to get something out of that City game.
Really?
Yeah,
okay,
because
fair.
It's when you struggle against the lesser sides, Spurs have this really weird thing with City where they tend to always get the best out of them in that type of game. So they could have told you that we would have probably got something like that and then gone and lost to Burnley. That's very, very Spursy.
Yeah.
In terms of when you say about feeling that Spurs have the edge in this, where is that coming from?
It's not. No, I think that saying they've got the edge in this probably is. I revoke that. I don't mean that. I'm speaking off emotion because I'm still so pissed off about losing. But actually, it's kind of even in terms of you don't know what you're going to get with Spurs. They've been poor. Man United, same thing. I can't, sit here with confidence saying, we're smashing the Spurs easily. They're crap. No, because look at us.
Yeah.
It's very, very unpredictable. And with Man United right now, you do not know what can happen at all. But, Sancho's playing well at the moment. We're at home. There needs to be a response after that derby. There has to be.
You think there would be some type of response?
Oh my God, 100%. I would love to think that if we go out and play as poorly as we did, especially in the second half of that game, no. But we're playing Spurs. They're not Manchester City. You know what I mean? Harry Kane's on it at the moment. Yes. I think against Everton, poor side.
Yeah,
against Leeds, when you played them
poor
before,
side.
you got poor side. So you can't even take too much from that. You haven't played anyone good as well.
There's no one you can really kind of judge. That Spurs have played in the last few weeks. I know Manchester City, but as I said, it's one of those teams that we always seem to do well against. But anytime we face someone else like a Burnley who come at you with a bit of strength, the only thing I could think of is that because you play quite openly as well, that benefits Spurs.
Yeah,
it does benefit. When teams sit behind the ball, Spurs really struggle to break them down.
And we're the opposite. When we get the questions asked of us and teams kind of sit back against us, that's been our Achilles heel. Although in recent games, even when we've been drawing, we've actually been creating a lot of chances, bar the City game. But Conte, back 5, sitting in there, waiting to get the ball forward to quickly to Kane, to Son, to Kulusevski if he starts, or more, whoever starts there. Bentancur did alright against Everton. So I think you could definitely. I'm thinking of Harry Maguire, just not concentrating, not looking properly, and Kane gets in, or Son 1-2, because if you give Kane a sniff, goal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's one thing we can't do, is give up easy chances against you. But we can win the game. All
right, so let's get your prediction in this one then.
I'm gonna say I've got to stop feeling like this sometime. I can't just keep, even though I'm fed up with it at the moment. I'm going to go with a narrow win. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Man United win.
Okay, I'm going to go with a 2-1 Spurs win.
Do you actually believe that? Be honest.
I think that it probably will be a draw. But I'm going to back my own team.
Are you scared about this game?
No, I haven't. I have to say, in recent years, I've got no fear about going to United. It doesn't...
Because we're crap, or because you just don't know what will happen?
I just think we're on a similar level. I really do. I think obviously your squad is 10 times better, but somehow you still manage to play like Spurs.
We're better than you, though.
Marginal. Brighton taking on Liverpool, Saturday 12:30 kickoff.
Yeah.
Brighton have lost each of their last 4 Premier League games. The last time they lost 5 was back in April 2007 when they were in League One. Liverpool are winless in their last 3 meetings with Brighton. However, they've drawn 2 and they've lost 1.
Wow.
They've never gone 4 without a victory against the Seagulls in all competitions. As we always say, stats, stats are stats, but we have to look at what's right in front of us. It's a really important game for Liverpool, this one, if they want to try and push Manchester City all the way this season. They've closed the gap tremendously, and they're right there, as you said earlier, the tails are up, they're right there.
Yeah.
If City slip up.
Yeah.
But how do you see this one going?
I don't see them making that, 4
4 in a row.
4 in a row, yeah. I see Liverpool getting it done. The stakes are too high right now. They've got the momentum. They weren't great against Inter Milan midweek, and they lost that game for the first time in ages. The first time they lost in over a year. Fulham were the last team to beat them there. It's crazy. But away from home, yeah, you can get at Liverpool. You can, but I feel like the stakes are too high. Jurgen Klopp's back to doing that thing again where he goes to walk off, then he turns back and goes, oh yeah, give it. I can't stand that. I hate that. Salty, yes I am, because I don't like Liverpool. Yeah, 100%. But they're a great team and they're playing good football. And even if they're not at their best, they usually get it done. Look at West Ham last week, 1-0 win. So I think they get this done against Brighton. Brighton, they've gone through different parts of the season doing really well. Not so much so now, they tail off, but still Graham Potter's doing a great job, but I think this game will be a big ask for them.
Okay, prediction please?
2-0 Liverpool.
Okay, I will go 3-0 Liverpool on that one.
Oh wow.
Just got a backwards in front of me.
Okay.
Southampton taking on Watford Sunday at 2 o'clock. Watford have won just one of their last 9 away games against Southampton in the top flight. They've drawn 2, they've lost 6. James Ward-Prowse has scored 4 goals in his last 5 Premier League starts against Watford. No other side has he scored more against than the Hornets.
He scored the most against Watford.
Yeah. Watford are in desperate need of a result in this one. If they're going to give themselves a bit of hope of getting out that bottom 3, in terms of the relegation battle, they're right on in there. How do you rate their chances though in this one?
Always want to keep believing
Southampton
for Watford.
Got battered last week.
They did heavily by Villa, really easily, and that's the thing. You never know what Southampton's going to turn up, and that's why you shouldn't write Watford off. But Watford really do need a win. I want to bat. They're my team. I'd always tip to stay up. I like Watford, but this is literally a 50-50 game. Like they are definitely capable of going there and causing an upset. Well, it's not even an upset. Getting the points. Roy Hodgson was saying in his press conference that when I think some of the fans were booing him for taking off players, and he was like, "Look, I'm not here to go with what the fans think. I've made my judgment, etc." So he's making his feelings heard there. But it needs to be seen on the pitch, though.
We saw, when they played Arsenal last week, they didn't have that much hope in it, but they still managed to pull it back to 3-2.
That's what I'm saying. They can score goals.
Problems,
When they kicked off against Arsenal, scored straight away after 20 seconds.
They've got players in there like the likes of Sarr who can do that and can cause problems. And Dennis
and Hernandez doing really well.
Who can cause problems, can't they?
Exactly. So they can cause Southampton problems. But if Southampton turn up and play to the best of their ability on the day, then I fear for Watford. But I don't know. I've got a weird feeling about this because Southampton haven't been great. I'm going to go draw.
Okay.
I'm going to go draw.
Any particular score in that draw?
1-1.
1-1.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with. Do you know what? I'm going to go rogue.
Okay.
I'm going to go 2-1 Watford.
Okay.
I'm going to go 2-1 Watford.
I hope that does happen. They need a win.
Last but not least, Brentford face Burnley. That is a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Burnley are unbeaten in their last 4 Premier League games in London, beating Fulham in May. So we're going back a bit. Drawing with Chelsea, Arsenal and Crystal Palace this season as well. Brentford's 3-1 win at Norwich last time out ended a run of 8 league games without a win for them. They also netted as many goals in that victory as they had in their previous 7. So not great.
Yeah.
It's another huge game at the bottom of the table. Burnley, I would say, have been doing better in recent weeks despite the Chelsea result. They have been picking up points. They've still got quite a few games in hand. Who out of these two do you see taking the points?
Is this at Brentford Stadium?
Is it Brentford?
Yeah. Massive win for Brentford
Yeah.
against Norwich. Because I was saying that I think the reason why Leeds and Everton will stay up is because I think Brentford will just kind of keep losing momentum and falling. That was a big win, and that's where they need to get their wins against the teams in and around them.
Exactly.
And they managed to do that quite emphatically against Norwich. And the confidence will be there. And I think they will need to draw on that early energy that they create at that stadium to really make it difficult for Burnley. But Burnley are fighters, man. I know they were really bad against Chelsea in the end, but they've been doing okay recently. I think Brentford are just going to nick this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they won't be keeping a clean sheet. I don't think they will. I'm going to say, I think this might be quite a high score. I'm going to say 3-2 Brentford.
Okay, I think that's quite a good one to go with. When I look at Burnley, I think, they brought in Wout Weghorst.
Yeah.
What a mouthful that
Wout
name is.
Weghorst.
Wout Weghorst.
Yes.
They brought him in, and I
good.
think he's the perfect striker for Burnley.
Yes.
Literally, he's exactly what they would be looking for.
He looks like an upgrade on Chris Wood.
Yeah, he does. And I think actually the business they did with Chris Wood was actually really good. I think they sold it for, 25 million and bought in Weghorst for 12 or something like that. So I think they've done some really good business in that sense. I think, again, this one is really tight. It's difficult to predict. I like Brentford, and I tipped Burnley to go down.
Okay, so you got to keep consistent with that.
Got to be consistent.
Yeah.
So
don't have to. You can change.
I'm going to go with a 2-1 Brentford win.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that Ericsson will be involved in that.
Yeah. That's how good's that to see, by the way.
So good.
Yeah.
Also, I loved that. Who was it? Was it Brandon
Williams?
So
The respect levels, like can't blame Christian Eriksen. Can't be doing that. And they scored from 2 of his corners.
Yeah.
I
think he might be the difference if Brentford stay up.
Yeah.
I really do. Okay, so before we wrap up this week's Premier League preview, we've got some games this Thursday. So before we end the show, I want some predictions from you. Wolves are facing Watford. Prediction, please.
Watford, another tough game. I'm going to say confidence because Watford will beat who's they playing this week again? Southampton, even though I said it'd be a draw. And they're going to go Wolves and win as well. 2-1.
Okay, all right. Southampton facing Newcastle.
Newcastle 1.
Norwich versus
Chelsea. 4-1.
4-1. And finally, Leeds facing Aston Villa.
2-2.
And also, predict your player of the week. I know. I can see who he's going to go with without even saying it.
Jadon Sancho?
Yeah, I knew.
Did you know it was going to be him?
I swear.
I would have made. Seriously?
I knew you were going to say Jadon because I knew. That's why I was so
oh my God. Jadon Sancho,
yeah.
Yeah. Or Harry Maguire.
I'm going to go with Harry Kane. He's going to be the most decisive vote.
You're King of the Harrys.
King of the Harrys. He would definitely win that one. But that is everything for this week's Premier League preview. Make sure you join us for all the watch-alongs this weekend. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to say next week after that.
I'm not saying good luck.
After that big game when United face Spurs. Have a great weekend.